You're listening to Kicked Back, presented by Uber One. Uber One is a membership that lets you save across Uber Eats, Uber Rides, and everything in between. Enjoy unlimited $0 delivery fees, 5% off of Eats, 5% off of rides, and if you join Uber One today, you can get your first month free. Visit uber.com/Uber1 for details. It's the final countdown. I'd sing it for you, Liam. Yeah, but no one wants to hear my voice. Welcome to Kicked Back, everyone, presented by Uber One. Quite the intro we have for this episode.
That was unplanned.
Yeah.
We're all natural here on Kicked Back.
Nothing
here is scripted.
As horrible as that was, you could definitely tell it wasn't scripted.
I'll tell you something. I've done a lot of prep for this one.
Yeah, good.
I've come prepared. I actually did. It's funny. You can see it, Caroline. All my prep, and you may notice there is nothing under England.
Good, because we're going to start with England first, though, guys. Before we get started, we have a producer on Kicked Back, and his name is Brett. So producer Brett is on board, and whenever he has an opinion or a take or anything he wants to say, we're going to fire the mic over to him so he can join our podcast as well. So Brett, thanks for joining us. He's waving his head or shaking his head, waving his hand. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore because the World Cup is a few days away and everyone's brains are like they're only on football.
It's funny. It kind of just snuck up on you, didn't it? Like everyone. Right. Like I was like, oh, I wonder when England plays. Oh, 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So that'll be a long start to the week, but I'm excited. The game to kick it off isn't a thriller by any means, but I think it'll be exciting for the host nation, and Ecuador is an exciting team too. But of course, there's not one game in this tournament. There's lots and lots to talk about, and lots of teams to talk about, which we'll be doing all this episode.
I feel like opening day isn't always the most glamorous game, but it's the opening day, so you know something extravagant is going to be planned and is going to happen. Like the Euro, what killed me about the Euro is that little toy car that came out that delivered the football. That absolutely killed me, and I think I actually made a video after that saying that was the most entertaining part of the game.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Who kicked it off?
I don't forget.
I can't remember, because that was a weird one where like nobody hosted it, right? It was like everywhere. Like England wasn't a host, but they played every single game at home besides the one they played in Rome, ironically enough. But yeah, I'm excited. There was the one World Cup opener, South Africa. Who did they play? Might have been Uruguay, actually. And it was awesome. Like the crowd was buzzing. That was 2010? And yeah, just a crazy good thing. We're still working out the kinks on this thing.
It's good, Liam. You do a lot for us here at Kicked Back. Okay, the England roster. Well, first of all the rosters have been announced. 26-man roster. Exciting time. Everyone has their opinions. Mm-hmm. Guys that are going, guys that aren't going. What are coaches doing? Or high five to coaches. One, I think, team that sparked maybe, I don't know if the word is controversy, but surprise is England with Gareth Southgate. And what I respect about you, Liam, is something that we were all talking about off camera, is that you are loyal to England. You are loyal and on the Southgate train, and no one can convince you otherwise. And I got to respect it, because at the end of the day, he could look like a genius. So you never know.
I just think we doubt this guy all the time. And in these tournaments, he shows up. And I know England don't have any silverware to show, but also I've watched many World Cups where England have bowed out in the quarterfinals, deservedly so. Last one they went to the semifinals, they should have beat Croatia. They just went to a Euro final. They finished third in the Nations League a couple of years ago. I know this recent run of Nations League games haven't been great, but also, who cares? Like, one of the games they lost against Hungary, they played at Molineux at Wolverhampton. They didn't even play at Wembley. They played half the team that Aaron Ramsdale was a goalie. He's their third choice goalie. There's a lot of positives about this team, and I think England fans have just been hurt so many times before that it's like, well, here we go again.
Do you think the expectations are too high? But because at the same time, like, I could understand that maybe that might be the scenario for Southgate, but then I look on the other side of things and I'm like, England always has one of the most talented teams with some of the most talented players, who the majority of them are playing on really good clubs with good competition. So I think the bar's raised so high because of the pool that you guys have, but maybe fans need to step back and say, okay, Southgate got us, to this point in these tournaments, and he deserves some credit.
I think what frustrates people the most about Southgate is his style of football. It is not enjoyable. Like, there's not a lot of fun that goes on in his games, but the point of football is winning games.
It's true, tactics.
And that's what he does. Like, and he wins tournament football, and Southgate is more than happy to win a game 1-0. Because if you win a game 1-0 or 7-0, 20-0, whatever it is, you still get 3 points.
Yeah.
And you advance. And that's the point. Like, yes, I get it. Like, I would love to see England win every game 4-2 and just have a like really exciting football. But also, I just want to see them win. I want to enjoy the experience of these World Cups. And the last one was fantastic. I basically cried when they beat Colombia in the penalty shootout. The Euros was amazing. And the fact they went to the final is something I never thought I would see, which is crazy for such a big footballing nation like England. Like, I think expectations are highest because everyone loves it so much. And we have such a talented team, and we should be advancing in these tournaments and doing well. I don't really know what the expectations are for this tournament. I think they can win. I think the draw lines up for them pretty well again if things go kind of correctly. And yeah, like semifinals, I suppose, would be an achievement for me.
I think so.
Like, yeah,
I don't think anything less.
Win.
I don't think anything less for England
No.
for 2 reasons. 1, they have a talented squad, and 2, there's so much. It's almost like tournament after tournament. It's disappointment when they don't win. That I feel like all the chips are in on this one, and England has to have not only a good performance but a good result.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think they will. I
do too, actually.
It's an experienced team. Southgate is stuck with his guns on a lot of these guys who have had success with him. So yeah, I suppose we can get into some of the names on the team.
So you're gonna give us your ideal starting 11 as Coach Liam, but first I want to ask you. I have my own opinion on this, and one thing I really appreciate about coaches, and specifically coaches, is loyalty to players, because I think this day and age, loyalty is hard to find in any sport. It's hard to find.
Yep.
And Gareth Southgate has stuck by Harry Maguire's side. I don't agree with every single thing Harry Maguire does on the pitch, but I definitely don't think he deserves all of the blame, all of the hate that he gets. Now, you know that Southgate and Maguire are buddies. These guys are like, thick as thieves. Do you think that Southgate should kind of maybe take that bias aside and say, hey, this could be a guy that could expose us defensively at the World Cup? And some guy like Tomori, who's done well, winning the Scudetto last season with AC Milan, becoming a part of the Serie A best 11 last season, is an up-and-coming player who's gaining valuable experience in an up-and-coming league, if we're being honest. Not an easy league to compete in. He's kind of just pushed Tomori outside of that roster and put kind of all of his chips on someone like Harry Maguire. Do you feel confident in that?
I don't know if Maguire is going to play as big of a role in this team as people may think. Like, he's definitely an interesting case, and I think out of everyone on this team, he's probably the least deserving of anyone to go to the World Cup. Like, he's not playing for United. When he is playing, he's playing horribly.
If anyone hears what's happening upstairs, I have no idea what that is.
I think there's a little vacuum going on.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that they clean, I suppose,
true.
after the Airbnb service. So
okay, but listen, if you're an opponent, wouldn't you just be like?
But he plays well for England.
Did he though? The last game that he played for England, who did they play? Germany.
They played Germany.
He was the reason for 2 goals.
I would say one. Wasn't one of them a penalty?
A penalty, but then he also he stepped like the second one.
Yeah, he stepped into it. Sure, that's fair. But he was also in the team of the tournament of the Euro 2020 last summer.
Can you look all the way back to 2020 though and make a?
I think you can for England because it's the same system. He wasn't playing well for United then either, and then he came into the team and did really well. And I think the thing with Tomori is, I think he's probably him and not Tammy Abraham. What's the other guy called? Ivan Toney are probably the 2 names that are like questionable, I suppose. But I get it. I think England's weakest position is centre back. I think that's very obvious.
And like a big position, though. I think a position that we don't talk about how critical it is to have someone that's good in that position. That's an argument that Canada's having. They say that's maybe the weakest link about Canada and something that they're going to need to get sorted out come World Cup time. I don't know, because Harry Maguire steps out of position. Harry Maguire doesn't do his job. The whole back line is exposed.
I don't think he'll play.
Really?
I think he'll play. I don't think
No
he'll
way,
like
Gareth
play a
Southgate
lot.
loves him and doesn't play him.
I don't know. I don't know if he will. Like, I think there's a lot of other options. Like, John Stones, I think, is a lock. Ben White's been playing really, really well for Arsenal. Eric Dyer's had a turnaround season. Like, I don't know. I think we'll see Harry Maguire in this tournament, but I wouldn't be shocked at some point if he just wasn't in the starting 11.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if his name is a lock on this team. I think Gareth Southgate, yes, takes a lot of the guys that he likes and knows. And I think that's for more of a camp feel, like guys who have been there and achieved something before with this country.
The one thing, though, about back lines on a national team, on a club team, they rarely change unless there's injury. So I don't think Harry Maguire, if he's not playing, he's coming in at all. Like, I feel like if he is starting, that's probably his position throughout the World Cup, unless he really F's up or really does something wrong.
Maybe. I think Kyle Walker injury is going to play into it. He'll play like right centre back when they play the back three when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. They say probably the last game of the group or maybe the first game of the knockout is kind of when they see him fit. So I think that'll play into it. So perhaps we see Maguire like first game against Iran, and then whoever they play second. I think it's the US. I can't remember. Yeah, it is the US. I don't know. I just don't see him being like a massive talking point in this tournament. I really don't.
You know what? But I hope so for Harry Maguire, unless it's for all positive things. And I don't know what he's like as a person. Sometimes I read articles saying that he's toxic in the locker room. I can only believe so much that you read on the internet. But I definitely don't think he deserves all the hate and all the immense pressure he has the second he steps on the pitch, because English fans, oddly enough, are the ones who like tear him down.
Yep.
And I don't like that, because I'm like, you want this guy to perform well. You want him to be a solid player in the back line for you. And yeah, maybe he hasn't been having the best run, but you've mentioned this, Liam, that he actually performs way better for the English national team than he has for club. He just needs to get that. For him, it's a confidence thing.
I think it's a belief thing in the manager, and I think Southgate shows that belief in him by taking him.
And that's why I respect the hell out of Southgate for this, because he's doing the right thing as a manager for his player. And you don't see that often in sports anymore. That's why I'm like really rooting for Harry Maguire. I'm really rooting for Southgate making the right decision here with this. I just also wonder on the other side of things, as a fan who doesn't really, no offense, Liam, I don't have, like, my heart isn't in it for England. I'm not English. I just wonder if, he is going to be someone who can get easily exposed for you.
So when England played Hungary and lost 1-0, Harry Maguire played, got a 7.5 rating. When they played Germany, Harry Maguire played, they conceded 1 goal. When England lost 4-0 to Hungary, Harry Maguire didn't play. Okay. He's good. And I know this Nations League is like, kind of is what it is. Like, it's glorified friendlies at the end of the day. So teams are testing all this other stuff. But besides the Germany game, like, England have actually been pretty good defensively. And that was when Maguire played in that game. He wasn't great. England probably should have won that game, but Nick Pope had the error at the end too. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not like that concerned about Harry Maguire as like everybody else seems to be. Tomori, yeah, I get it. He's a great football player, but I just was not surprised to see him not selected on this team.
A lot of people are saying that. I would have loved to. I think he deserved that spot on the roster. And even Ivan Toney, I mean, how about him scoring those 2 goals after the World Cup roster was announced? Yeah. Him just basically waving to Southgate, being like, hey, you left me behind. You made the wrong decision. And the guy has 11 goals, 3 assists in 16 games. It's not bad.
Tony's... I can see why he wasn't picked. Like, I think when you look at the England team, it's like, who can play well with Harry Kane? Like, you have to find a partner with him. I think Wilson brings a bit more pace than Tony does, and a different style which defenders will have to adjust to even what Harry Kane brings. I think Tony and Kane have a lot of similarities in different ways. Like, Tony's a target man, and like Kane can kind of be that target man too, but you also need that pace.
Yeah.
And Wilson brings that, and I get it. Like, I would have liked to have seen Ivan Toney too. I don't know. I just think for the team, like, Kane's playing every single game.
As he should.
Ivan Toney might have gone, like, Callum Wilson might go to this tournament and literally not play.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, the talking points for me are just odd. Like, I just don't think the huge deals on this team when you actually look at the construction. Like, I get the Tomori one. Like, I understand the defending stuff. Like, he's going to be a part of this team for like, what is he, 23, 24,
he's
something
young.
like
He's
that?
young.
He's a part of the future. Like, there's young guys before who haven't gone to a World Cup or Euros, whatever, and shown success. Like, I know Trent was injured in the last one, but there was also a lot of debate going into that Euros if he'll even be named into the team. And now he's on the team, and he's going to play a big role in this. Like, whatever he's talking about is now, the World Cup will come. England will probably do okay, and then we'll just all move on from it.
I think you hit it on the nail. The reason why I'm not behind these super stacked rosters like France or Brazil, not saying that I'm not behind it, I think that they could have really good performances, but I don't see them winning it all, is because a manager has to balance how many superstars are on the team. When there are too many, it's too hard. They all think that they are playing the most instrumental role, and that's when you see things kind of going sideways. So Gareth Southgate strategically is probably making a team with his superstars and guys who can support those superstars. So that's why I always say this, even if coaches don't have the ideal roster that everyone envisioned them to have, I'm like, I've got to trust it until I'm proven wrong. I do think Southgate is entering this World Cup with a massive target on his back from English fans themselves, because he has to have a good run. There are questionable decisions, Tomori and Tony being two of them. But at the end of the day, England has one of the most talented pools in football of players to pick from. He's privy to, is that an English word? Did I just say
privy? I believe
privy?
it is a privy.
I don't know where that came from. I've never said that in my entire life. He's around situations that we don't know about. We spoke about this on our last show. He knows what players are like. He knows what the locker room's like, and he's making a decision based on so many factors to probably put the best 26-man roster together that would bring England a win. You can't tell me he doesn't want to have a World Cup win. He's going to put together the best 26-man roster so that he leaves being like Gareth Southgate is a World Cup champion.
Yeah. I was
privy.
Funnily enough, I was just pulling up here just some Premier League stats just out of curiosity. Big chances missed. Ivan Toney, 11, leads the league.
Oh, that's a nice stat.
That's quite funny. I'm not even criticizing him because he's a fantastic football player, but I was like, that's quite something right there. Yeah, I don't know. I think another question mark on this team was the selection of Calvin Phillips. I'm all over Calvin Phillips. I think he's a fantastic football player. I think when he plays, he's one of the best players to ever put on an England shirt, to be honest. I think what he does is fantastic. Conor Gallagher was another one. I think the reason why he was picked is because he kind of brings a different dynamic from the midfield. Like, he'll get into the box. He'll kind of take his chances from outside. I don't know if England have many guys like that. Like Rice and Bellingham probably aren't going to do that too much. Jordan Henderson, I think he's there for more a leadership role.
Yep, I agree with that.
Like we said, we needed. Like, Connor Cody is probably another guy. And he's actually having a really good season with Everton. So, a bit of both on that one, I suppose. But I think overall, like you made an Instagram poll, right? And people weren't too happy with
let me read it to you guys. Let me read
team.
it to you guys. So I did a poll this morning on Instagram, and I asked, did Southgate make the right decision with the roster? 13% so far have said, yes, we got to trust his decision. 25% have said super questionable. 40% have said, no way, England is doomed. And 22% say, in Maguire we trust.
Hell yeah. I'm with 22. I made all those votes.
I think that, because I know a lot of people are saying that the midfield isn't too strong. We'll see who plays and who starts, but Jude Bellingham to me is a guy, who's a star player. Jordan Henderson, you need a leadership guy. Yeah. That is one of the most important parts of a team. Gattuso, when he played for AC Milan, wasn't the star player, but he was a leadership guy who got the job done. You're going to need someone in that team to do that. And then you look at your forwards. This is like low-key stacked. Harry Kane, Foden, Saka. Like, Saka's a guy that, could silently become like a leading goal scorer if England goes far.
Well, he was named England's best player last season.
I mean,
kind of came out for a team with guys like Foden and Kane and there's so many other even Jude Bellingham to an extent. For Saka to get it, I think just shows how much credit he deserves. But yeah, it's a talented team, and that's why I just understand it. Like, was Tomori really going to make that big of an impact on this team? Was James Ward-Prowse? Was Ivan Toney? Was Tammy Abraham? Like, I just don't know if adding like one or two players was really going to change England's expectations for this World Cup.
We have to see how Southgate comes out in the World Cup, but if Harry Maguire's not in form, if Harry Maguire can't turn around his season into the World Cup, Tomori would have been the guy to like replace him. And that's where I'm like, Harry Maguire needs to. Southgate's had his back. Now Harry Maguire needs to step the F up for Southgate.
Definitely.
Big time.
Definitely.
If he starts, if he plays.
I don't think Southgate would jeopardize the tournament off the back of defending Harry Maguire. If he's not playing well, he won't play him. He's not an idiot. Like, I just don't see Southgate doing something negative to try and get a positive.
Yeah.
In like a big, and I know that's kind of contradicts the addition of Maguire, because it is a bit of a negative, but I think he'll be fine. Like, I think Maguire's, like, we've mentioned it on the show, I'm pretty sure, just like kind of getting out the spotlight a little bit. He's literally got out of it because he just isn't playing. He was injured too, to his defense, so I think he'll be okay. Should I give my ideal starting 11?
I want your starting 11.
Okay, so Jordan Pickford in goal.
I love that, and I was obviously Jordan Pickford's going to the World Cup, but it made me smile for you.
Yeah. And I think he's never done anything wrong in an England shirt to lose his job. Everton is a different story. Okay, so England will play like a 5-3-3.
Okay.
What is that? 5-2-3. Is that how many play? Yeah. So they'll play like two wing backs.
Quick math.
I couldn't picture it in my head.
Honestly,
so the back three, this is kind of like, I guess I'll do it for the first game because Kyle Walker won't play, but I think Kyle Walker will be on the right side of that trio.
Okay.
I think for the first game, it'll be Stones, Dyer, and I think it will be Maguire.
I think so. I don't think he doesn't start.
I think that's the first three. I think when Kyle Walker gets back, he could lose his job, depending on how things go.
Harry?
Yeah.
Harry.
Right wing back, Kieran Trippier. Arguably the best right wing back in the world right now. Been unbelievable this season for Newcastle. My tunes. Left back or left wing back, Luke Shaw, mostly because we only took one. So
listen though, if he keeps playing like those passes like he had, I believe, against Germany,
oh my goodness,
give Luke Shaw the ball every single minute of the game and inject it into my veins.
See, here's my thing. This is why I believe in Southgate. Luke Shaw is horrendous for Manchester United, but somehow he's like the best left back in the world for England. I do not get it. Either way, where am I up to? My midfielders. It'll be Bellingham and Rice to start. I don't think that's in doubt at all. When Calvin Phillips comes in, I'm curious to see how they play around with that a little bit. But to start with, Rice and Bellingham. The wingers. Now, this is where it kind of gets fun. So, obviously, Harry Kane's a striker. Obviously. That's your middle guy.
Oh, he's not a center back?
No.
Although he probably would do well there, too.
He could play anywhere. Put him in goal.
Honestly.
Okay. So, I think this is where Southgate has a big decision to make because there's so much. I think Sterling will start. I don't think he should. I think he will.
Okay.
But I'm going to go in my ideal 11. I'm going to go Saka and Foden as my wingers.
I love that.
And that's how I'll roll. But I think Sterling will probably start. But that's how I would kind of do it.
I pray to God Saka gets heavy minutes at this World Cup.
I actually think it'll be Foden that comes out of the team for Sterling over Saka.
He's so good.
Yeah. Well, like, there's so much. Like, I haven't even mentioned Marcus Rashford, Jack Grealish, like Mason Mount's on this team, James Maddison, who's probably the most informed Englishman in the world, and I haven't even spoke about him yet. I don't know. It's a talented team. There's a lot going on. Obviously, I get it. England wants to win. Everyone wants a perfect team. I think it's fine. I think it's a very good team.
I do too. I'm not rooting against England, and the only thing I question is their center backs, and that's, respectfully, I could be proven wrong. I also think, like I've said many times, the World Cup's a completely different ball game. Mm-hmm. You could have someone who's had a terrible season or an amazing season, and it look completely different in Qatar, right? So we'll see what happens, but this to me is a balanced squad full of talent and I think absolute potential. And one thing I like about Jordan Pickford is typically England is sus in net, and I think you guys have talented goalkeepers here that will get the job for you done in between the pipes. I know that's a hockey saying, but we're going to say that here on a football show.
I think, I'm with you. It's
balance.
coming home.
It's all about balance, hey? It has to be balanced. Because now we move on to Brazil. We'll move on to the Brazil World Cup roster, and this is the most stacked team at the World Cup. And you can't even, it's so stacked that Firmino didn't make the cut.
Yeah, there was, I put that in my thing too, is like, yeah, like Firmino, one of the most informed Brazilians, just like didn't make this team.
Honestly, and I'm sad because I think that he deserves it with this turnaround season almost that he's had with Liverpool. I was really rooting for him. And also, listen, like this is insane. He has more Premier League goals than Jesus, Martinelli, Richarlison, and Antony this season.
Yeah.
So I'm like mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that he's not there.
And the thing is too, I believe he had like 6 or 7 goals in qualifying. I can't remember. Like he scored quite a few goals in the qualifying for them.
There's got to be some juice in there that we don't know about, like maybe some drama or something, because it doesn't make sense. I'm sad for him.
Well, I think what it is Richarlison and Jesus just kind of fit the pace that Brazil want to play with. Like Richarlison's a starting striker for this team, like the number 9, which is interesting because he's not even the starter on Tottenham. But I get it. Like he's a great football player, but. Like you said, like this team is unreal.
It's actually disgusting how unreal they are.
Rafinha, Vinny Jr., Rodrigo, Martinelli, Anthony, Bruno Guimaraes,
Allison.
Well, not even Allison. Edison's the backup.
Honestly, like look at. Honestly, this team is jam packed from a starting 11 to an entire depth perspective. But this is the question I have about this Brazil team with so many big names. How do you tailor to every single player, and how do they mesh as a team? I don't really give a shit if you have Vinny Jr. and Neymar and Casemiro and Fabinho and Fred and all of these guys. If they don't play like a team, which they absolutely could, but if they don't, that much talent on a team at the end of the day doesn't matter. They need to mesh well, and they need to have, as much as the superstars matter, the supporting cast around them matters too. But this is a team, to me, like when you look at them on paper, any team going into that game is effing intimidated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you go into that game being like, holy shit, this might be one of the hardest games of my life. Also, shitting yourselves low-key because you're playing against probably every big player in the world in one game.
Yeah, I think the only flaw I have for this team is the fullbacks.
A lot of people are saying that,
and that's like, I mean, they took Dani Alves, who's, what is he, 38?
Which I love. Pepe also made a World Cup team for Portugal.
Dani Alves, 39. Whew. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how much Dani Alves is really going to play. Like, they have Alex Sandros plays left back for them. Alex Tellez, former Manchester United player, plays left back. Danilo for Juventus is probably the starting right back for them. That's probably the only point you can expose him, I suppose. Like, Marquinhos is a good centre back from PSG. Thiago Silva seems to just like never age. And even if you get past that back line, like you said, you have to bump into Alisson, who's arguably the best goalie in the world. So,
I know.
I don't know. Like, it's so difficult to say. Like, I'm kind of with you. There's a lot there. How are they going to mesh? They have played well as a team recently. I believe they've won like their last 7 in a row or something like that. I think the last game they lost might have even been the Copa America final.
Which is because Argentina is also on this, I think
35.
It's 35 game unbeaten streak. And Brazil's going into the tournament with momentum. But sometimes, as amazing as those stats are, that worries me, because we were just saying off camera, for me personally, peaking at the right time is the key in these tournaments. And these teams that have been undefeated and unbeaten, how do you find that next level when you're already up here while other teams are consistently progressing to that next level? It becomes difficult for them.
Yeah.
But I also say that, and they absolutely could prove me wrong, because I look at that roster, and again, like I said, this is an lethal, in all caps, lethal team.
I think one thing that's going to benefit Brazil quite well at this World Cup, where they have in a pretty tough group.
Yeah.
Like Switzerland are good. They only got knocked out of the Euros on penalties by Spain, and they knocked out France. Like, they're not to be underestimated. Serbia's basically hitting their golden generation of players now. Like, they're a team, I think, in Europe. Well, they finished top of their group over Portugal. Right? Mitrovic, Luka Jovic. What's the guy on Lazio called? Savic? Milinkovic Savic.
Yes, that's right.
He's so good.
He is so good. I forgot about
like
him.
Every single top European team every year, and somehow just stays at Lazio every single year. He's unreal. There's just a lot. And Cameroon, too, like, to their credit, they have a pretty good team as well. Like, I think Was made them this dark horse.
I love
for
that.
the World Cup, which is hilarious considering the group they're in. I don't know if they'll get out of that. But they're...
You never know.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, 100%. Like, anything can happen. But, man, that is a tough group for them to predict to come out of.
Brett, who was it on the SLP podcast? Matthew, who said that anything can happen at these tournaments?
Exactly. Yeah, it was Matthew. Anything can happen. And like you said, you got to peak at the right time. You got to play like a team too. And that's what I see a lot of out of a lot of these teams. And again, it comes down to coaching too, right? So
100. And I always think about whenever anyone's like, oh, it's impossible. I think about two scenarios. And I know this is the Euro Cup, but Greece winning the Euro, and no one and their moms had predicted that. And then also Iceland having that really solid run at the Euro. No one ever, they were coming out about Iceland players that was their part-time job to be on that football team. And they're like, their other part-time job was an actual job.
Yeah.
So they had to balance this. So I just always think that in these tournaments, the craziest stuff can happen, and some of the big teams find themselves exiting. There's the curse too.
Yeah. I'm doing my predictions right now again because I did them last night and I forgot to save them.
Tell me, Liam, how far do you have Brazil going? Because you have England winning. So who's Brazil losing to in your
semifinals?
So Argentina.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. But man, you could just do a coin flip. If you did a coin flip 10 times, it'd probably land 5-5.
How sick would it be to have a Copa America rematch?
It would be awesome. It would be really cool. And it's kind of like we spoke about our Champions League stuff. Like, it's fun to see the best on best. But you almost would wish it was like a bit of a final too, that it was more at stake. But that would be unreal.
No, I want Argentina-Portugal final. Give me that severely chaotic, monumental, iconic game of my life. Nothing would ever top that moment. I think in sports history, you've got the two greatest players of all time taking on each other in their last ever World Cup.
I don't.
Messi fans and Ronaldo fans would go wild.
I'm super torn on Portugal.
Yeah, okay, so
Shall we just talk about them?
first
right
of all,
now?
I do want to say that I think Neymar will win the Golden Boot. I want to put that out there. Right now, 20 appearances this season, 15 goals, 12 assists. This is nuts. Then you put him with guys like Casemiro, Fabinho, Fred, and amongst others, because you look at their roster and they're so incredibly stacked. But I think Neymar has the potential to make this his tournament. Like, I think that this World Cup in Qatar could end, and the only thing we talk about is Neymar because of how incredible his performance was. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him kind of find that next level because his name's been kind of quiet, and we know that he had that window of time with injury, but I do think that he's coming back. That old Neymar we love is here, and he's been doing really well with PSG. So I want to see him. I'd love to see him win a World Cup, but I'd really love to see him have like a stellar individual performance that kind of puts respect back on his name amongst all the fans, not just Brazilian football fans.
I think he's gaining it back in quite a significant way after what we all saw when Brazil hosted the World Cup. Like, it just wasn't a good look for him at all.
Oh, I know.
But that was like a young, immature Neymar, I feel like, and now we're getting a bit more of like a mature Neymar, to be honest. And now, if he does well at this World Cup, like, he's got to be a favorite for the Ballon d'Or, right? Like, right now, it's probably him, Messi, and Haaland are the best three players in the world in the front running for that. I mean, Haaland is what he is, but at the end of the day, he scores goals.
Oh, Haaland stole my heart.
Yeah. Did you see, actually, apparently City are trying to find somewhere for him to play whilst the World Cup is going on? Like, sending him on loan to, like, some, like, non-league team or something like that. There's this place called Ashton, which is actually where my granddad lives, right by there. And they put out a statement like, yes, we have approached Manchester City on trying to acquire Neymar. Oh, yeah. Did he go?
This is so funny. And I saw Pep come out with a quote, and this isn't the exact quote, but he was like, Haaland needs to stay busy and lay off the carbs or like eat properly or something. Like, that Pep somewhere in his head's like worried that this guy's not going to stay in form.
Yeah.
Because he's become, their main source of everything good at the club.
Funny.
That is so
Did
funny.
that just happen?
Yeah, 10:40 a.m. our time. So
10:40?
24 minutes.
Oh, so
there you go. I love that.
That's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Up the Ashton.
Okay, yeah, let's go into Portugal. For me, I know a lot of people have Portugal flopping. I know that their coach is a large reason as to why people don't think Portugal is going to do well. But to me, they have the most well-balanced roster at the entire World Cup. Like from the back to the middle to the top of the pitch, they are sneaky good. And I mean, you just look at their roster: Alisson, Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, Leao. Like it's just, it's crazy.
I just don't believe in them. I don't know what it is. It just sometimes.
Sorry, I didn't mean Alisson. I meant Costa.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah, but the people online don't. So I better make sure that it's cleared up.
Do you know what? I don't know what it is about them. I just don't have that feeling. Like I kind of had a similar feeling about Germany going into the Euros last time, and they got knocked out with England. That's my the quarterfinals, whatever it was. I don't know what it is. It seems to be a lot of question marks around them with the manager.
Yep.
Diego Jota's not going. This whole Ronaldo thing that's come out now, like how's that going to go over with Bernardo?
It's true.
Not Bernardo, what's his name? Oh, well, Bernardo Silva, I'm sure you didn't mind it. Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Jeez, Louise.
Bruno, though, to me, gives me such drama. Bruno Fernandes wants to be the main character all the time. And sometimes I see these situations with him and how he interacts off the camera, or how he called out one of his teammates, Garancho, I believe, like saying, oh, yeah, like he doesn't work as hard as he should. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about Bruno Fernandes, and I don't even like all of his antics on the field. So I think that there are dramatic pieces in this Portuguese team that could be the reason why they falter at the World Cup.
I don't mind Bruno. I kind of thought that way about him too in the past, and I listened to an interview with him, and he kind of explained himself. And I guess once he he always does this thing, right, with his hands and like waving at guys across the field. And apparently, like, he says, like, oh, I talk to my teammates about like why I do that, and they know it's not like a negative thing. It's just like he says sometimes like you're so far away from someone, you kind of just got to do something with emotion. And he'll like talk to the players after, or like beforehand, and like explains himself. He had a really good speech the other day in his post game, which was unprecedented. He just said it about like everything that's going on with Qatar off the field, which I think was great to see. The Garnacho thing was interesting. I don't know if that was, but I think Ten Hag was the one who brought that up first.
He did, but leave it to the manager. Don't you agree? Like, I feel like a manager can criticize your teammate.
I don't know. I think
know.
There's a lot going on at the United right now
This is true.
Isn't even a Bruno discussion, I guess. Like, he just seems like such a minuscule part in all of this.
What do you think about Ronaldo dropping his interview with Piers Morgan? Because this is what we're obviously hinting at.
I think some parts of it were fair. Like, obviously, his family stuff is very understandable. Like, I don't even really want to get into that part of it because I don't know enough about it to comment.
Yep.
I think it was interesting, to say the least. He'd built this up for a while, and then it kind of like went away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the approach of it was interesting. He criticized, Neville and Rooney. It's like, well, they're paid to be critical. Like, I just don't know what they expect from him. I don't know exactly what the comments they made. I thought the comments he made on Rooney about him playing like, I'm in better shape than him, were like a little unfair. Like, Rooney had injuries and stuff like that, which kind of ended his career a little earlier. Ronaldo and Rooney obviously have a lot of history after Ronaldo essentially got him sent off in the 2004 Euros and did the wink and everything like that. Like, I don't think Ronaldo is innocent in any of this. I don't think United's innocent in any of this. I think there's just a lot going on there. But for a guy that gets paid £400,000 grand a week, whatever it is, I don't know, he should probably behave a little better too. Like, I think all of it's just stupid.
We need to have an episode alone. What I want to do, because I've had my opinions online, but to bring it on the podcast, it's almost like, let's watch the Piers Morgan entire.
It hasn't come out. It comes fully out
Wednesday, right? So tomorrow and Thursday, and then I'll have a complete opinion on everything. But you guys know Cristiano Ronaldo's my boy. I appreciate when people have the balls to stand up to the big bad clubs and the big bad companies of the world and speak their truth. And for freaking 50 hours long, Manchester United fans were complaining about the Glazers. And now this guy's trying to expose the Glazers. And now they're like, oh my God, Ronaldo's the worst. So I do think it's a messy situation. I think that the timing of him dropping this before the World Cup is two things. One, iconic, and two, it could end up working in his favor or it could not. I think Ronaldo's used to the limelight and the good critics and the bad critics, but I wonder how that's going to impact his teammates who may be a little younger. But I respect Ronaldo. And I think that, like he said, there's a lot more that happens behind the scenes that people don't know about. He's also not the first guy to say some bad shit about United. Ibrahimovic said it. Mourinho said it. I think he's the first guy to have an interview about it and kind of really let people in on it. Do I think everything he says and do I think everything he does is the right way to do it or say it? No, I don't. I think that the guy's an emotional man and sometimes things can be said and done differently. But at the end of the day, Mike always tells me, my husband always tells me, if you speak your truth, you put your head on your pillow at night and sleep peacefully. So he should be doing that.
Yeah. I don't want to get into it, to be honest. Like, I just don't know enough about it.
Yeah, we got to watch the interview.
I think he was, I don't think it was the right thing to do.
Really?
Piers Morgan is such like a controversial person to talk to in England. Like,
I think it was calculated to use Piers Morgan.
I think so too. I think he wants to go to Arsenal and Piers Morgan's an Arsenal fan. I don't know. I just know about it. Like the Glazer thing, like I think there's a lot of positives going on the field on United. Like some of the stuff I agreed with, like a club that big should have upgraded things. Like he said, what did he say? He called out the chef. Come on, man. The chef.
Which he did say he loved. He said that he loves that chef.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting. It just feels like, I don't know. I don't even know what the answer is. There's a lot going on at United. I don't think he's ever going to play for them again. I think a lot of the guys who said stuff at United weren't at United anymore, which makes a bit of a difference. Like, he's an employee of the team. They sign his paychecks every week. Like, he should, I don't know. He walked off the field and then he was named the captain. Like, it's just such a confusing situation. Like, we're never going to get the full truth because Ronaldo's going to have his side and Ten Hag's going to have his side, and the answer is going to be somewhere in the middle.
Which both sides are entitled to their opinion and how they feel. But yeah, I mean, sometimes the way I see it is these clubs don't give a shit about their players at the end of the day. They care about money and they care about success. And if it came to writing off one of these players, they'd have no problem doing it. I want to know about the situation about when Ronaldo didn't go to preseason. Because if that's true, then I really don't care about United and how they feel. Because that to me is on a human level. The management of that club should support anyone, if it's the number one player in the world or a guy that barely made the team. So these are things that I always think about. Like, people only consider when the footballer or the athlete does something wrong, but sometimes, these big corporations, these big clubs aren't always right. And I just think Ronaldo called him out, and now he's getting fined.
Didn't Ten Hag say like he wouldn't comment on it in the media? Is like he's away from the team for like personal reasons, and we like respect that, and we don't want.
Well, obviously that's what they're gonna say to media, but I wonder if there was more going on behind scenes.
I don't think we'll ever know.
Well, okay, let's move on. The one thing I will say is the timing of this is unfortunate in the sense that this is what we're talking about in terms of Portugal before the World Cup. Instead of maybe the biggest news being like, oh my God, look at their superstars and the veterans they've brought in and all their young talent like Rafael Leao, and how they're like a really well-balanced team who have the potential to do something special. It's kind of drowned out by this interview with Piers Morgan. I will say that.
Makes me feel like it's more about Ronaldo too then. If he's going to like the biggest event in the world and he drops an interview the week before it starts. We got two sides here, folks.
Depends on what side you're on, guys. Anything else you want to say about Portugal?
I think they'll lose in the quarterfinals.
Which, okay, who are they?
Who are they? Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, I think quarterfinals to me is I would still consider a good run. I think they have the potential though to have a great run. I'm not saying that they could beat Brazil, but I think the way that their team is built with the players that they have, if this coach F's this opportunity up, I think it'll go down as the biggest flop of the tournament because of the guys on their roster.
Yeah. So if they were to finish first in the group, they would play the second place team in Brazil's group, which would be Switzerland, Serbia, or Cameroon. Which I have probably Serbia going through. But
which again wouldn't be, they don't have an easy
No, it's what do they
In
play?
New Zealand.
Uruguay, Ghana, and South Korea, which
Okay.
is a tough group.
Argentina. My World Cup winners. Go ahead, Messi. Do the damn thing in your last ever World Cup. Here we go. This would be, if Argentina would win this World Cup, it would be their third World Cup win ever. Like I've said many times on this show, they won the Copa America in 2021. This ended a 28-year national trophy drought for Argentina. They're adapting to their new coach, Scaloni, who came in into that managerial position. I think that this team likes their manager, which is an important piece to the puzzle. And I think one of the big things with this Argentina team that maybe they haven't had in the past is they have momentum on their side. We talked about that unbeaten streak. I think that sometimes that's a blessing and a curse. They have that momentum, but I hope they don't go into this like losing slump because they've been winning so much and now all of a sudden they have to adjust with the pressure of Qatar and the time change and just the moment of the World Cup. But critical players that I thought that were going to be injured and potentially miss out on the World Cup are back in the roster. Dybala, Di Maria. You add these guys, and I think that Argentina is a team that can absolutely put this away.
Yeah, they're kind of like Brazil, where it's like, who don't they have?
Honestly, I know.
They have everything, and like it feels like that team is a little bit more rounded than Brazil's is. I think they're probably the favorite coming into this. I don't even know what the odds are, to be honest, but I'm assuming it's them and Brazil are right up there, and probably France. But they have a fantastic team. The thing in this streak is too, and this is Italy had a similar thing when they went into the Euros last year, and they obviously won, unfortunately. But anyway, they're actually like they're winning being good teams. Like
I
they
agree.
beat Italy only in that like what are they calling it? UEFA Cup of Champions. So it was kind of like a respect thing for Maradona as well after he played in Napoli, and he's obviously from Argentina. So I'm excited. They actually play tomorrow against UAE, so we'll get like a little glimpse of what they're all about. 8:30 in the morning for us, so that'll be nice. Not too bad. And then, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. Relatively easy group. I don't think Mexico are as great as they've been in the past. Saudi Arabia aren't very good. Poland will be the biggest challenge.
It's okay. You can say that you don't think Poland's
No,
good. I won't be mad at you.
I think Poland's the second best team in this group.
Yeah, I
have them
pray.
going through. I just think that. I mean, every year I feel like Poland's the one team. It's like, they got a lot of good
This
players.
is the year Poland's going to get out of the group, and you're like, wow, we've scored one goal, and it's the end of the group stages.
Yeah, they just like the forwards they have. Like, holy moly! Let's pull it up here. Messi, Di Maria, Martinez, Alvarez from City, Paulo Dybala, and in the midfield, like DePaul is so good. Paredes from Juventus is great. Martinez on United, Romero, Tottenham. It's just endless guys. Like Martinez in goal for Aston Villa is a really good goalie too, and he's kind of been such a huge piece for them because they feel like they've always just missed a goalie. Like what did they have there? Sergio Romero, that was his name, right? Yeah, like he went to the World Cup with them and he was fine, but then also he just went and sat on the bench for Manchester United for like 5 years. So it just kind of showed the level he truly was. So I think they're a great team. I think they'll lose to England in the final.
Ooh. You really think?
I don't know if I really think.
I had to ask, but it's okay. Let your where you're from show through. It's good. You gotta have that faith.
I hope they lose to England in the final.
That'd be a sick game, Liam.
It would be sick. Harry McCain.
Yo, imagine that player.
Yeah, Harry Maguire versus Leo Messi. Bring it on.
Oh my God. Harry McCain versus Cristiano Messi. Can you imagine those guys on the pitch? Yeah, that'd be crazy. But I think what I'm most excited about this Argentina team, it's the most depth we've seen from them in a long time. And I think they're feeling it. They're a group that seems very... Like, we talk about Canada having a brotherhood. I get that feel from Argentina, and I think Messi is that integral piece for Argentina that's bringing everyone together, that's making everyone believe. Of course, he wants to win this World Cup and add that to his achievements and his accolades, but I also think what's special about Messi is that he wants it for everybody, and he's a guy that's going to really play hard for everybody. So that's my special piece in this whole Argentina puzzle, is that Messi's going to be able to do something, and as last ever World Cup in the later years of his career and find another level. And I think that when we witness that, it's going to be one of the most special moments in football.
Well, yeah, he's coming into this thing in perfect form. Like, it really couldn't be any better for him and Argentina and this team as a whole. I mean, they're going to be tough to
So
stop.
excited. And
Tough,
I like their
tough to stop.
jerseys. I really like their jerseys.
They got some good colors. So actually, the way I have my draw going, and I think we'll do a prediction show, I think, at the end
Friday,
of the week,
yeah.
right? So a little teaser. They knock out France in my prediction pool.
Sorry, and when would that be?
That would be the last 16, the round of 16. They have a tough
Well,
run on me. I won't tease it all, just a little bit.
Let's
for you
move on to
come
France
back.
because hot take, this is my team to flop at the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm kind of with that too. I don't know. Like, it's funny because I think that, and I look at the team, I was like, wow, that's guy's really good. That guy's really good. So it's like, oh wow, this whole team is
stacked. This is exactly what I have in my notes. I'm like, again, this whole roster stacked, and similar to how I feel about Brazil, too many superstars. But there's one thing that sets them apart for me from Brazil. I don't think Brazil has drama like France could potentially have. And there's two people in particular, Mbappe and Rabiot, two big personalities, that I just wonder what that's going to look like. And I could be very wrong. And I say that respectfully. This is just, I'm like, my gut feeling, there needs to be peace within the team. That's also another thing that could be something that you could consider negative around Portugal with all the drama that's happening there. But I don't know. This is a team. Like, think about the players. Nkunku, Giroud, Mbappe, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Mendy, Varane, Benzema, Griezmann. These are all big names in the sport. How do you tailor to every single one of them? How do they look like a team? Maybe they will. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, the forward group is incredible, to be honest. But yeah, like, there's so many guys there. They're missing Pogba and Conte, which were like the heart and soul of that team that won 4 years ago. That's going to be so difficult to replace. Like, I don't care how good Tchouaméni and Camavinga are. They're not experienced yet. This World Cup will help them a lot, but it'll be curious to see how much they're relied upon by this team to have success. Like, I don't know. It's going to be tough. They're also playing against Denmark, who are one of the most informed teams in Europe right now and could be a sneaky contender to win this whole thing.
Agreed.
They also didn't have a great run in the Nations League, kind of similar to England, I suppose. I don't know. Like, Varane is probably going to miss the first game too, which exposes them a little bit more at the back. There just seems to be a lot of missing guys in this team. Like, a lot of guys, like we spoke about England, guys who could have been there, but they're not missing, like, they're missing Reece James, I suppose that's the biggest name, but like, they're missing like core pieces to their team, and that's got to affect them in one way or another. Also, Hugo Lloris, only 4 caps away from being the most capped French player ever.
Nice. So hopefully he gets that.
Well, I'll get it when they lose to Argentina in around the 16.
I love it. I do think France has a tough. I don't think Australia's that.
They're not as good as they've been, but they're okay. Yeah.
I don't think necessarily a team you can just I don't know, scratch off. They're a team that I'm like, oh, maybe they give us an unpredictable moment.
Perhaps, yeah. I feel like they've probably got that in them a little bit. What do they call them? The Socceroos.
They have what they have is like they're a fun team to watch. I don't know if you guys watching the qualifiers, but they actually beat out Peru in penalty kicks, and then their substitute goalie was in net. Right. His name was Andrew Redmayne, and he was doing, I don't know if you saw, but he was in net for that last penalty kick that Peru was taking, and he kind of looked like Dudek. You know how Dudek was always so famous for like jumping around on his line? So he was doing that, saved the penalty, and then on his way out from the net, he saw the Peruvian goalkeeper's water bottle, and it had all the penalty kick like stats and like notes. Yeah. And he threw it into the stand so the Peruvian goalkeeper couldn't look at it. And when I saw that, I'm like, I love watching teams and players like this because they give us that entertainment to this tournament that we are all dying for. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if little moments like that, big moments where maybe a big save for a goalkeeper or a moment from a player kind of sparks this team a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when Australia went to the World Cup the last couple of times, I think they performed well. I'm sure they had a big win against someone. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think France and Denmark might be a bit too much
for them to handle.
Yeah,
for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think, and that's why I think France will get out of this group. Like I don't know. I like Tunisia. I don't think it'll be any threat at all. They're they're not a very exciting team to watch. If there's a team in this tournament I will not be watching, it's probably Tunisia, to be honest. They're just so boring. I think they only scored like 5 goals in qualifying and conceded like
Who's
2.
this?
Tunisia.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. They actually, Bolton used to have a player from Tunisia, Radi Jahidi.
Nice.
I remember once I went to.
You kill me with your Bolton stats. the Bolton stats here are like iconic from Liam.
I went to. I actually went to watch Bolton versus Arsenal at Highbury. Last year Highbury was going on, and Radi Jahidi scored a header right in front of me. It was awesome.
That is awesome.
In Bolton's baby blue kits.
Your memory. You're the number 1 Bolton fan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe in Canada. I'm sure I'm up there. My dad might be number 1, perhaps.
So the World Cup curse is that the team who won last World Cup doesn't get out of the group stage.
Yes.
So you think France is going to break that?
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Like, I think some of the ones.
Imagine them lose to Tunisia.
Because Germany was the last one, right?
Yeah, and they didn't make it out. They can only go up from their last World Cup in this World Cup.
Yeah.
They can only get better.
Let me see if I can pull that. I think they had a relatively tougher group. Like, the thing, like, I thought about that too when I was making my predictions, but I just looked at the group. I was like, Australia won't do much against them, and Tunisia are bored. Like, Group F was Sweden, Mexico, South Korea, and Germany. That was a tough group for them. That's the thing. I just don't expect much from Tunisia. I guess.
One thing I'll say about France is, as much as Mbappe's like creates noise outside of the pitch, I do think he's effing phenomenal.
Oh, he's so
I think
good.
he's an unreal footballer, and we're seeing him do some crazy stuff with PSG. He's linking up really well with Neymar and Messi, and I also think he has a good team around him to help him do that at the World Cup. This could be a guy who also could be up for the Golden Boot easily.
Oh, yeah.
So, I say France is my flop because you always have to have a hot take pick. I'm not going to pick the best teams all the time to do the best things. That's just, a team that I'm like, I don't have that much confidence in them. And I don't even think they had a solid run in the Nations League campaign either.
France?
Yeah.
No, they lost to. They finished 3rd in the group, only above Austria.
So we'll see.
So,
also, Giroud's another guy. This guy carries AC Milan on his back.
Did you see the quote Van Dijk did about him?
No, what did he say?
So Van Dijk was doing an interview with Gary Neville,
this,
and he was like, "Who's the toughest player?" Or like, "Who's something along the lines of like, who's the hardest player you've ever had to play against?" He's like, "Oh, it's Giroud." He's like, every time I played against that guy, he like would score the craziest goals against me, and he said he was ridiculous.
Dude, he's so good, and he's old. I mean, old for a footballer. He's 36 or something like that. So.
Yeah.
It's crazy because, this is the cliche saying, but they age like fine wine. That's completely true to Giroud. And he shows up. He's a big player who shows up to big moments. That's one of his claim to fame. I could be completely wrong about this France take that I have, but we'll see.
So Giroud and Steven Mandanda, I believe his name is, are the first 2 36-year-olds to be ever named in either the same World Cup squad or the same France World Cup squad. So they're old.
Yeah. But sometimes age is just a number, as we can tell, as we see with Messi right now. My God.
Yeah.
This guy's killing it. Okay, last 2 teams. Let's wrap it up here. Germany for me, as Brett just put up on our screen, Bayern Munich 2.0. Their entire roster is Bayern Munich, which is not a bad thing.
They're pretty good.
Bayern Munich, I don't know if you've heard about them, but...
familiar with the word.
Yeah. I think they've won a couple games in something that called the Champions League a couple times. I'm not sure.
The biggest notable admission for me was Mats Hummels.
Okay.
I know he hasn't played since Euro 2022, but also he's having a pretty good season for Dortmund. I don't know. This is an interesting Germany squad. There's a lot of good players, like Kimmich in midfield.
Oh, I love Kimmich.
Yeah, Goretzka's a great player. What's that 17-year-old they got to? Mukoku, I believe his name is. 17 years old. Holy moly. But then you look at the strikers, and I'm curious about it. So, Adi, do you know how to say that one? Adeyemi. No name team here. 0 goals this season. Kai Havertz, 4 goals. You know I'm not on the Kai Havertz train, Caroline.
Yeah,
Not
you
my
love
guy.
him.
Mukoku, the 17-year-old, 6 goals this season. And then you get, what's this guy's name? Plays for Werder Bremen. Füllkrug. 10 goals this season for Werder Bremen. Fantastic season. No international caps. I'm just curious about that group. and how they're going to perform. Obviously, around them, the supporting cast is fantastic. Sane, Musiala, Gnabry, Muller, so if Thomas Muller scores 7 goals in this tournament, he will become the all-time leading goal scorer in World Cup history.
So he passes Klose.
He would pass him,
his good friend Klose.
Yeah, his buddy. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now knowing that, I kind of hope that Thomas Muller has a solid run here. I want it for him. I like him. I think he's a good player on the pitch. I think he's silently underrated, and also he's funny, man. Like he's always posting videos on social media like, see you in Bayern Munich, Lewandowski, with the peace sign. Like, I love that. Like, we don't get enough of that in sports, that he's awesome to me.
How about the Mario Götze redemption tour?
Yeah.
Hasn't played for Germany since 2018.
Yeah, that's a throwback name, hey?
I kind of forgot about him, to be honest. Like, he was part of that great Dortmund team with Hummels, Lewandowski, obviously Götze as well. Like, who was the Japanese guy? Kagawa was on that team. Holy moly. Klopp, obviously. And now he's in the World Cup team. Like, what a credit to him in the way he's had to just, like, rebuild his career. Like, he went to PSV for a couple of seasons. Now he's back in Germany with Frankfurt, playing in the Champions League with Frankfurt. Like, awesome. Like, just so good to see him back on the world's biggest stage. I don't know how much of an impact he's really going to have on this team, but the fact he was good enough to make this team is just really good to see, I think.
I hope this Germany team does well, because when you look at the roster, they're heavily represented by the Bundesliga, and I'm not German, but I want respect on the Bundesliga, because I like watching that league so much. I love their fans. I don't think that that German football from a club perspective gets enough respect. So I'd love for this team to do well. Kimmich, for me, is severely underrated. I think he's an incredible midfielder. He has great vision. He does everything you want him to do in the midfield. He keeps the ball on the ground. He connects his passes. I want him to have a blowout World Cup. I want people to be like, wow, Kimmich, we didn't give that guy enough credit. Or even the young people to be like, who's Kimmich? Who's this random guy that's not Gavi or Pedri? You know what I mean? Like, give this guy some respect. So I think there is some pressure on him. I think he knows that this is his time to, like, prove himself. I'm really curious to see what he does for Germany. I think he's going to be, like, a very big part of that team, and hopefully there's success.
I'm very curious to see how this team does.
Yeah, me too. I don't really have an opinion.
It's so hard to say, because they have a lot of talent, yes, but also they weren't great at the Euros. They haven't been, like, fantastic under Flick since he got there. Last World Cup, not so great either. Tough group. Costa Rica, Japan, who a lot of people are having as, like, their dark horse team this year, which as Canadian fans will get to see them on Thursday. I don't know a ton about the Japanese team, but people are saying a lot of good things about them, so we'll see. And then also Spain. Like, I don't know. Like, we'll see how this German teams do. I think they're one of those teams that could go to the semifinals, but also one of those teams that could probably lose in the group stage. It's kind of like how I feel about England in a similar way, if I wasn't so biased.
No, I think that even with your bias, I think you make solid points about England. I'm just very curious. This is how I always feel about England. And then when you watch them in a tournament, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't go the way you have expected for them.
Yeah.
England is the team I'm going to be watching, like, the most every second of the game.
Me too.
Yeah, of course. Okay, last team, Belgium. I called my dad this morning and I was like, Dad, who's the team that you think's that's expected to do well and you don't think's going to do as well as they should? He said Belgium, which some people have winning, some people have doing really well, but some people are also, like, they're not as, I don't know what the word is, shiny as they have been in the last decade. And that's where I wonder, I don't think Belgium has what it takes to win. Do I think they're going to do well? Yes, but I don't think that they're going to win.
The varnish has worn off.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I know they're not as shiny as they used to be. I'm glad you understand what I'm saying, but great team though. Like, to me, they have the best player in the world right now, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, they do. And, like, you look at the other guys too, like Hazard.
Lukaku.
I know he doesn't play a lot for Real Madrid, but he's great. Yeah. Lukaku's good.
Goalkeeper's unreal.
Yeah, Courtois. Onana's a good one from Everton. He's like 19 or something like that. Let me check. 21, close enough. But then there's just defending wise, like, I don't know if I believe in, like, Aldo. How do you say his name, bro? Oh my goodness! If
we need to have Brett on here.
If they leave the Premier League for like 10 minutes, I just don't know how to say the name. And there's just Like, is Roberto Martinez that good of an international manager? Like, when he was at Everton and Wigan, he wasn't that great either. Like, I think that's the biggest factor for me is, like, is Martinez good enough to carry this team to where they need to be? And I know they went to the World Cup semi-final and finished third at the last one. I just don't believe in him. And he's just, I don't know. There's a lot going on with this Belgian team. I think they'll ultimately win the group that they're in. They're obviously in Canada's group. But, yeah, I think Courtois might steal them a game or two, depending on how far they can go.
He's unreal. He's
Probably. Him, Allison, and Edison are probably the best 3 goalies in the world.
He's unreal. And I think goalkeepers are probably the most critical piece in winning tournaments.
Yeah.
When you don't have a goalie, you could have a great team, but you might not get as far as you want. It's the most important player on the pitch.
Definitely.
So, yeah, that's how Belgium, to me, is also a team that I also find a little low-key intimidating. I don't know. There's something about them that's they're a super athletic team. Like, they're not afraid to grind. They have talent, but they're not afraid to grind.
Yeah.
So,
no, we'll see. We'll see. I think I've said this maybe on camera, off camera. All these European teams, I don't think any of them are great. There's no Spain from the early 2010s. There's no Germany when they won. Like, Italy when they won 2006. Like, France, obviously, with Zidane and stuff, like, in the 90s. I just don't see it. Like, I feel like this is the tournament where one of those European teams, if they're going to kind of present themselves to the world, whether it's England, France, whoever, like Netherlands is probably a good team too. Like, maybe we'll get to them tomorrow, but there's a lot going on here. I think this is being dominated by Brazil and Argentina. I think they're the best 2 teams in the tournament, and Europe has got to pick it up. Like I said, Denmark's probably arguably the best European team in the world right now.
I can't wait to see it. I agree. Tomorrow, so today we kind of went over like what we would say are the top dogs at the World Cup, and tomorrow we'll go over maybe some overrated, underrated opinions on a roster that we didn't reach today because there's so much going on to fit in almost a 1-hour show. But yeah, this is crazy. European team may not win, but that leaves room for Canada. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Imagine Canada qualified for their first World Cup in 36 years and they win it. In a dream world.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be a tough one.
Just in a dream world. It
would be awesome. It would be cool. I can think of one other thing that'd be better in this World Cup if someone else won.
Would you really? Yeah, you would take England over Canada.
Oh, any day of the week. Any day of the week.
That makes sense. All right, guys. Thank you for listening and watching to Kicked Back, presented by Uber One, and we'll be back tomorrow.